Hello and welcome to another episode of Baggers Chat. We are filming this, the Saturday morning, the morning right after the Mighty Bombers win, boys. How are we feeling?
Super,
Pretty
mate.
good, mate. In a good spot, 9-3, a game ahead of probably half the teams in the eight, which is good.
Yeah, I mean, as we film this, of course, it is Saturday morning. We are fourth. I think St Kilda plays today, which I think can change that. I haven't double checked that, but I believe that's the case. There's a few teams that can change that. I think there's a couple of the same, but yeah, as you said, we still are in a good spot. 9-3, can't complain. It was 7-12, 54 to the Bombers, 12-8, 80 to the Mighty Blue Boys, which is a 26-point win. Which, if I'm not mistaken,
the mastermind,
as he called it. So good on Speech. Unfortunately, he can't be here today. He's taking a couple of weeks off to see his family. So we wish him well. And yeah, 26-point win. He nailed it. And he did say best on ground. Sam Doherty, who you could argue
did get best on ground. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So I had us by 32. East, do you remember what you had?
Yep, had us by 43. So I honestly, it probably should have been 40s and 50s, but we'll take the win.
Pardon?
Yeah, 25 points. I was 1 point off. So I reckon I'll take the credit because speeches do this. So I'll take the credit, boys. Thank you. No, 25 points. Yeah, so I just think it was probably around, the weather probably helped my margin just because it was a little bit wet. So I think if it was a little bit drier and we played a little bit cleaner, I'm sure it would have been a lot closer to Daffy's score.
Absolutely. How good? What did I have? I think I had us by about the same, didn't I? Yeah, 32. So
yeah, 32.
I could have been there or thereabouts as well. But, you see, it's the three-quarter time. I think it was three-quarter time. Vossi spray. How good was that? Like to see.
Yeah.
I guess do you think that's more? Was it a structure thing that they weren't doing what they were supposed to be? They weren't following the game plan sort of thing, or what do you reckon that was, Pato?
I think it was just kind of just more structure and kind of because we were still in front. I think it was like 28 points or maybe 22 points. I don't know what it was, but we were still in front by quite a bit, and Essendon didn't really get a hold of us in the third quarter. So it was obviously something that Vossi saw that is quite important to the Carlton's values. So I think it was just overall, I think it was good to see that he actually sprayed him after, because I mean, I don't want to bring up Teague, but if he saw that and we were still up by 28 points at three-quarter time, he would have still been like, yep, stick to the plan, boys. Yep, this. But Vossi was like, we need to get down to this right now or else they will get in front. So thankfully, they may have cleaned that up a little bit, but it was just good to see that, I think.
Absolutely. About you, Heath? Was it an effort thing? What did you say?
Nah, I could never have a go at people's effort. I think the effort's always there. I think this year especially, but I think it was more, like Pato said, it was like structure. We just seemed to really just put I don't know. It was just weird. We really slowed it down for some reason when we opened them up in the first 10 minutes of the third and really killed the game. In my opinion, I thought the game was over. Probably after the Fisher goal, and there was a few instances where Durden could have kicked a few goals, but. I think it was like the back end of the third and the whole fourth quarter was just shit house. Like both teams just really sloppy, and I think the weather really played into their hands actually, and they didn't really take that opportunity. So it's good to get a bit of a rev up, and it looked like he was directing it at a few blokes, and I think he might have been directing at Mr. Cripps a little bit. So it was good.
Okay, it was a win. We got the win, and I agree with both what you guys said. If you do have a mate that's coming from another country, or maybe they're from Queensland or something, they don't quite follow the AFL, I don't think it's the game you show them. It wasn't really wasn't the best game in my opinion. It was Friday night. It was, two of the arch rivals. In theory, it should have been a good game. Bombers aren't going too well, but yeah, it wasn't. I mean, the wet weather obviously wasn't great, but it wasn't the best game of all time. Let's just say that. All right, we'll go through to we'll review our matchups now. So Ethan, your time to shine, mate.
Yeah, so we'll start off with Peter Wright against Lewis Young, which I thought Lewis Young absolutely won this by a mile. Took him out of the game, considering I think Peter Wright's got to be top 10 goal kicking this year in the comp. He's kicked over 25 goals.
25, 26.
Yeah, keeping him to 0 goals too is a positive. What were your thoughts on Lewis Young on Peter Wright, Pato?
Yeah, I think it was just a massive test for Young because not having Wiedering there. So that's what I was a little bit nervous about, just how he would actually go, because this is probably his biggest test of his career, let's be real. And yes, it's Peter Wright, but he's actually a solid footballer. Even at Gold Coast, he was highly, he was rated. So I think when he moved to Essendon, he actually started to really get some games together and get his body right. So I think he's actually starting to look pretty good. But yeah, shout out to Lewis Young. Wow. I think arguably he's best on ground. He finished with 18 touches, but once again, 100% efficiency. And I think just the most important thing is that he finished with his opponent kicking 0 goals too. And yes, some of his shots should have been kicked, but still, he still only had 2 shots at goal. So I think that's absolutely fantastic by Lewis Young.
Carlton?
Yeah, before we get to that, so 25 goals to Peter Wright and Charlie, 39, 1 in front now of Jeremy Cameron. So go Charles. But I think Youngie was very good. And I think we still do miss, obviously Wiedering's a huge out. And I think it was interesting. Were you surprised that Durden didn't play, or Heath?
Not particularly. I don't think their forward line's very, they're a bit mediocre, to be honest. I think, Wright's good. I think Harry Jones will be good in the future, maybe. But I know he kicked 3 Jones, but did he really, he didn't really stamp his impact on the game. So, no, it was good. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I thought Young was very good. Probably arguably his best game in the navy blue. And, it was good to see.
Now we'll move on. This matchup's a little bit off now just due to Darcy Parish going off at halftime, I believe. Obviously, we'll look more at Walsh's game. So it was Walsh versus Parish. I think, obviously, there's always a talk about these two. For some reason, I don't know why they're in the same conversation, because I think on total impact on a game, I think Walsh is more of an impact player, considering he doesn't have as many midfield minutes as a Parish. So Parish is obviously going to have more numbers. So, what were your thoughts on Walsh's game, Pato?
Yeah, I think he did really well. I think just touching on Parish, I think it may have been 3/4 time or half time. I'm not too sure the exact time it went off, but I think it was
early,
just but I think it actually was 3/4 time. So that's just why. And he didn't really have much impact before, because I know that a mate that I went with, I was kind of just speaking to him, and I'm like, why is Parish playing the forward line? Because I know that Shield probably had arguably the best game in the playing for the Bombers. So I think he was actually pretty good. But I think Parish, it was interesting that he was playing in the forward line. So unless he just got an injury, maybe during the week, that maybe they just drifted him forward and it was bad enough to actually get an injury to take him off. So, but I think Walshy, once again, Mr. Consistent, he's been fantastic, I think, since he's come back from the syndesmosis. So I just think that he's starting to get that Walshy form back. And it's just really good to see that Walshy's starting to get arguably back into Brownlow form.
No, I agree. And he's really just stepped up again. And considering how high of a level he plays, especially at the start of the year, everyone was going, it's not Walshy, but he's still playing at a very high level in his first few weeks. What were your thoughts on his game, Sammy?
Obviously 29 disposals, 13 kicks, 16 handballs. He played very well, and as Pato said, he's sort of slowly getting back to that. Very quickly getting back to that Brownlow form of last year, which is good to see.
No, it is good to see, and I felt our mids battled well. So we'll move on to the ruck contest and Sammy Draper, who got on the scoreboard last night, which is not a sight you see too much. He's more of that kind of old style ruckman, throw his body around and the mullet flies around, and against Tommy DeConnick, who I thought went all right. What were your thoughts on the matchup in total, Pato?
Yeah, the big Sammy Draper. I didn't mind him. I mean, I don't mind the big mullet that he's wearing. He's grown out. So but it might be wearing, it might be a wig, who knows? But I think TDK, once again, he did pretty well, because I didn't know that Phillips was playing till the teams came out, and I'm like, of course he's a former Blue, so I think we traded him. I don't think we delisted him, but I think we traded him. So we traded him for a reason. So I think that I think he's solid, but obviously he didn't have much of an impact. But I think Draper was good. It's a tough one because they both impacted in their own way, and I think they both impacted with their strengths. So I think TDK did okay, but I think Draper just got this one.
Yeah, Sammy.
Yeah, it is interesting because it was not really as such. It was a Draper versus TDK, but then of course, as Pato said, Sauce Phillips was in there as well, who actually took the game for most hit out to 24. TDK 23, Sammy Draper 19, and then Silvani and Harry with 3 between them. And I don't mind Sammy Draper. I thought he was pretty good. He did kick a couple of goals, as you mentioned, and but I think they probably get the win just in sheer fact that it was 2 of them, if we can't take that into account. But I think TDK played pretty well.
Yeah, and well, one instance that I reckon Draper just needs to learn is that kind of professionalism around goal. Like, he gave away that free kick to Cripps, which I reckon Cripper was enormous body work against a big fella. He engaged the contact, got the free kick goal. Draper's just got to be better around the ground. I just feel like he just struggles. He's not that natural football, obviously, because he hasn't played for that long, considering compared to other players like, Cripps and that. But no, I think he goes all right. We'll move on.
Just on that.
Yep.
All right. I think he did give it. He led the game for frees against, I think, as well.
Yeah, he's a bit of
a same as Marchbank, but 3. He seemed to also, I don't know, it worked once. I think one of his goals might have been out of the ruck, but he seemed to almost a few times try and grab it and do too much, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a bit of ambitions mixed up with his capabilities type of thing, but he seemed to grab it. It did work once, I think, but he got caught a couple of times as well.
Yeah. I don't mind him, but I don't know. He's a weird player. Is he good? Is he bad? I don't know. He's in that kind of mid-range. I don't know if he's good enough for a number 1 ruck. So we'll move on to Charlie Curnow against Laverde. But in the game, I think Laverde took Harry more. There's a bit of a switch. It was Reed and Laverde kind of handing over, depending on what the situation of the game was. What was your thoughts on Charlie Curnow's game, Pato?
Yeah, I think it was really good. I think this matchup was probably just made just because we didn't know if Harry was going to play or not. So I think if Harry was named when we actually recorded the episode, I think realistically we probably would have done Mackay versus Laverde. But Curnow was okay. I think he finished with 2 goals, 1, I think. So I think he did okay. But I think we probably called it during the week just because at the MCG, we probably knew that it was going to be a bit wet. It probably wasn't a game for Charlie Curnow to dominate. So I think he did okay. Of course, he did his role. But I think it was probably more Curnow versus maybe a Reed. Even like a Redmond, I think I saw maybe just because Curnow's probably not as tall as maybe as a Mackay. Actually, I don't even know. Who's taller out of Curnow and Mackay?
Oh, Mackay by a mile.
Mackay's
I thought
huge.
so. Yeah. But but Curnow's still tall. He's just...
inches.
Sure.
Just how big of a man Harry is. Like, you forget after not seeing him for a while.
Literally got 12 centimeters on him.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that it was that much.
Harry. Yeah. I think people underestimate that. Like that. You talk about duos, forward duos, and Cameron and Hawkins, which I think are fantastic forwards in the competition. But the point of difference that Harry has is that height and reach, and he's faster than both of them. He's probably one of our quick players. That's the thing. So he's a generational talent, the big H. Carlton, what was your thoughts on Curnow's game?
Sorry, I thought you said Harry. I thought it was 3 goals. But yeah, Charlie 2 goals, 1. Harry 3 goals, 1. So 5 goals between them. I mean, that's still solid. Still pretty solid for you, especially your first game back. So I think Mackay played very well, but I think it's hard to judge in the sense that it's not always going to be goals driven. I know it's stupid saying that for being a forward, but it's more the fact that Charlie's going to take, a defender, whoever it may be, each week, sort of up the ground more. Not necessarily Charlie. Harry can go up the ground as well, which I think they did speak about post game, which is interesting to see. Like, they sort of, there's no set role in the sense that I'll go up the ground now, you go up the ground. They sort of just like a vibe thing almost. Like whoever sort of wants to, they'll just sort of point out you go up or whatever, which I thought was interesting in the sense that I would have thought it was more Charlie, the person who would go up the ground, Harry potentially stay back forward more. Yeah, but it's been obviously the size thing. I think he's probably more, I guess, agile, I guess, Charlie, I don't know. But yeah, I thought that was interesting to hear. And I thought they both played pretty well.
Yeah, no, they did, and I think Harry was our best forward last night, just in terms of the impact he made really quickly into the game. Like he took that first mark. I know he went inboard and fucked up the kick and nutmegged Zach Merritt, who's Zach Merritt. Pato, you rated him. He's no good.
No. He's okay. He's better than Parrish. I'm saying that.
Soft as butter, mate. Soft as butter. But we'll move on and onto the midfield.
Nah, well said, mate. That was good. Just whacked one of their players. All right, now you brought it up. How good was Dylan Shield going forward? Not like looking, not know where to hand. Do I handball? Do I kick? Where do I go? And starts running backwards. Just like, what the fuck are you doing? Like he played well, played very well, but
yeah, he
what
did.
Are you doing there? And what is Sard? Kept getting booed all the time, mate. I don't know about that.
Oh, it just shows that Essendon supporters are jealous of him moving to the mighty Baggers, mate. Literally choosing the Baggers over the Bombers, mate.
The fact is, last year, how the hell were they comparing him with Nick Hind? Nick Hind
playing fucking twos.
Nick Hind, he played last night.
No, he play last night.
I'm saying, like a lot of the time, a lot of the time he plays twos.
Yeah,
I'm not even kidding. I did not even see him.
If he was on
I
our
did not
list,
even see him.
sorry, but he wouldn't.
No,
he's not good enough. And if you compare him or our list, we are 10 times better than them. So it's great it's fucking amazing,
mate.
Yeah, no, actually, I don't think it was actually that bad or something. Like, you get 22. Like he's okay, but
it's the way you use the ball. I personally think like Sard takes that risk, and not so much on high.
So we'll get into the midfield battle. Chera out early. I think he's okay. Is he, Ethan? You're the Chera.
He didn't look too bad. Like he was walking on it pretty easily. I think it was similar to the Cripps one. I think I said during the game. I think it was very similar to the Cripps one, where you just got to go off, take the precaution. You know, we're going to win this game anyway. So it was hopefully he's not out, because next week's huge.
Massive, yeah.
Absolutely, and we still racked up the disposals. I think we controlled the game for the most part, like 320 to 382 disposals, which is quite significant. 62. As we touched on before, centre clearances were down. We couldn't sort of win the ball out of the middle. It was 13 to 8, but then we sort of made up for it, I guess, around the ground with stoppage clearances, 19 to 27. With the overall clearances, 3 in favour of us, 32 to 35. So what do you put that down to, Ethan, in terms of not being able to win it out of the middle, but then also getting it out of the stoppages?
Yeah, well, listening to Vossi's press conference, I think he was pretty happy not happy we're losing clearances, but happy we're finding a different route to scoring goals. Like I was actually quite happy with how, I know I was getting a little bit annoyed with centre clearances. They were killing us through the middle, but I think just the way they played was just not sustainable in the middle as well. Like they were going so hard at the start of the game. Like, I don't know. It just felt like we were in control, even though losing the clearances. But we were good. And, I think it was 58 points from turnover. So that's something we haven't really seen this year. So like at that high level, which is good to see.
Yeah, it is interesting to see. Like, although we've been fairly consistent with a lot of things, it seems to be a new week. We're like dominating one area, if that makes sense. Like, I think it was the other week, it was like tackles inside 50 or something. And then, just inside 50s in general was massively high. And now and they were a bit more even, I think, this week. And we seem to just always dominating one area, and like it seems to change every week. It's interesting. But Pato, what about you, mate?
Yeah, no, I think the big Duffy boy said it perfectly. I think it was just the clearances in total. I think it's always good to find other ways to win, because that's what the good sides do. Like they always, if plan A isn't working, they fall back to plan B and plan C and plan D and so on. So I think it's always good to find another way. And I think, because I think the small forwards have been pretty good, and yes, Owies was pretty good, but I thought Durden was quite quiet. So I think it was good to see that, like even like a Zach Fisher, I thought he was pretty good, and he seemed to be more that small forward role. So I think it's always good to see that. Yes, we did lose the clearances, but I think it's good that that we kind of were able to hold that together for the win.
Absolutely, mate. Big Daffy boy, I like it. All right,
the big Daffy boy, the Daffster.
And Cripper led for us with 8 clearances. I think Shill might have had 8 or thereabouts as well.
Yeah.
For them, obviously, not for us. We control the ball well. I've got written here. Seem to be we do seem to be in good spots. Like just like the handball, I guess the link up. Like they just like it looks so good. Like out
Yeah.
of stoppages in particular. Like you get to a point where you're like, surely there's no one else to handball. You've got to like kick it forward, and then some fucker will just run from the back and be like, here I am. It's like it's good to see. Like the way they set up, it actually looks good for once.
Yeah.
What about you, Heath? What do you reckon about that, mate?
No, I completely agree. It's very good footy to watch. I think if you're a neutral supporter, watching us right now is actually good to watch. You know, we're not just bombing the ball long and hoping the chaos ball leads to a goal. We're actually working our way through it. And I think there's a few instances where I think maybe in the third quarter, I was rewatched the game last night, a bit of the game. So there was a few times where, guys like, Cottrell just being patient with ball in hand and waiting for that option, not going long every time, just chipping over the top to a Nunes that get feed off to a Martin. It just keeps going. And I think it's more patience. It's more patience and waiting for the right option rather than going for, Harry's there, let's go to him on a 1v3. So it's clear to see, what is it? 12 games have played and the system it's locked and loaded and it's only going to get better and better.
Absolutely, mate. And I think the fact that it's also telling in the stat of tackles of how much we had the ball and how well we controlled it. Because I think I've got it in front of me, but they led the tackles by quite a bit, which just meant they were, pretty much chasing tail most of the game. But yeah, Paddy, how do you read it, mate?
Yeah, no, I think that was absolutely spot on. Just what I've seen a lot is just the change of players having a lot more creativity with the ball. Like, I've seen Nick Newman, like shout out to Nick Newman. I know that we'll mention him later, but 29 touches. And if you get the ball into his hands, he's going to be, that he's going to be creative with it. And you've also got Sard. Zach Fisher is probably the most creative player on the list. Sam Doherty, yes, he kicks back a bit, but he still creates play. So, and that suits the structure. So that's what I've seen a lot. Like, I didn't even mention him, but George Hewitt, once again, like just creative players all the time, just gelling together. And it's just terrific to see because we have not seen this sort of football in our life. I'm saying that right now. Nowhere near, this type of football has been nowhere near to what it was in 2011, 2010, all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a problem. The thing is, it's like, it's not 5 or 6 players. It's every player.
Everyone. But
they're confident. It's a confidence to be able to take on kicks. We might go, oh, shit, that's a risky kick. But if you pull that off, it leads to a goal. I will touch on it later, but Lewis Young had like 4 score involvements. That's just based on kicks he takes on because he takes on those kicks, goes short inside D50. Oh, that's risky, right? But, Plowman's in the middle there and then he gives it off to a Sard. We use those blokes more. It's just it's just good to see. It's really good to see.
Absolutely, boys. Well said. How good is this? Just talking about all the different positives. Although it was a scrappy sort of win in a sense, there was still a lot of positives to take out of it, which is always good. Another thing that was great was, I think, just our marking. As we said, we did seem to have the ball a lot sort of in space and, as you said, have a lot of time with it. And just our marking, I think it was, where is it here? 113, which is about 13, 14 above our average, to 80, which is 10 below their average. So I guess being able to kill the ball so they don't mark it in a sense, and then marking it extensively ourselves, which is good to see. What did you see there, Heath, in terms of marking ability?
Yeah, it was good considering the weather was, a little bit of a slippery ball, that shitty rain that kind of makes it a little bit more slippery actually sometimes, just due to not being ready for it. But we're ready for it. We were ready for it since the first bounce. And, it wasn't even just the big fellas taking marks, you just got our smaller backs taking marks. And I think, I don't know if it might be Newman leading the marks. I think he might have taken 10 marks or something. I don't know who it was, but he was up there. Our bigs were taking marks. Big H. He's got fucking sticky fingers. So it was good. It was good.
The grippo. Let's have a look now. Marks, Newman 10. Like we smashed 10. Newman, Doherty 9, Kennedy 8, Harry 8, and then they've got 2 bombers and then another 4 blue baggers. So Yeah, as you said, it is very hard with that little bit of rain. Like if it's absolutely bucketing down, the ball's gonna be slippery. But when it's like dripping, you're like it's sort of inconsistent. Like it sort of is it slippery, is it not before you mark it? So it's hard to know. But Pato, how do you rate it, mate?
Yeah, I think just once again, it's just another way that we kind of dominated them because as soon as we got the footy, we probably just use it better than them. But one thing just to touch on, which we just mentioned earlier, but it's quite interesting that they led the contested marks. So like we finished with 8, but they actually got 14 contested marks, which I thought was quite interesting. But yeah, I think for us to get more than our average, but also them to get less than their average with the marks was quite interesting because realistically we should be getting less than our average as well because it's quite a wet game. So I think our skills were definitely better than them. Probably didn't show as much because of the margin, but I just think that we were just better. We were just better.
We're just better. We are just better.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we are. I haven't got it exactly in front of me right now, but I have to check the champion data. But I believe we're like up there in terms of disposals, like getting to like for the team, and then we're actually also up there in terms of how can I word it? Disposals conceded. Like we don't concede a lot of disposals. We like to control the ball.
Our opposition doesn't get much of the ball.
Yeah, exactly right. We control the ball, and this is. I mean, I'll go through it now really quick. This is indicative of this. Sam Doherty, this is from top to bottom. Again, Doherty 33, Newey 29, Walsh, Cripper 29, 28, Hewitt 28, Shield and Merritt 27, 26, and then Nunes 25, Heppel 24, who I think was a bit
terrible,
ordinary in my opinion.
Yeah.
Really like the bloke, but yeah, I don't know. Interesting. But yeah, what's that? 3, 4, the top 5, and then 6 of the top 9, but the top 5 in terms of ball winners on the ground. Like we lost the clearances. Sorry, lost the centre clearances, won the overall clearances. But like we get the ball, we control the ball, which is just so good to see. But yeah, anything else to add on the midfield battle, boys?
Nah, I think the clear difference with both midfields is just that everyone, there's a system around our midfield, even when we're losing, clearances and that. Essendon just didn't have a plan B, did they? Really, like, and if most of their clearances were just hack kicks forwards. So by guys like Merritt and Shield, but we'll touch on our boys more.
Well said, mate. I like that. We did mention the ruck battle, of course. Phillips 24 hitouts, TDK 1 behind 23. Big Sammy Draper 19 hitouts. We sort of touched on that. We don't really need to go over that too much, but I think we all agree TDK played pretty well. It was pretty solid, and I think, as we mentioned before, I think he's going to win around the ground more often than not. But then, just in a pure ruck sense, there's maybe there's a few things he's got to develop. But we'll turn this into a further question. How far away do you think Murkov is, Ethan?
He won't be in the side this year. I'll lock that in.
Beautiful.
Peter will be back in, round 13, 3-4 weeks, I reckon. So, I don't think he's ready yet. And what I've heard as well. So I'm not just saying that because I don't like the bloke. I hope he turns good, but I don't think he's ready yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I thought you said he'd be back in round 13, but you said he's back. It is round 13. He'll be back in
13. He'll be back in 4. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Pato, you agree with that sentiment?
Absolutely spot on. I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit because, like, I wouldn't mind if we're like top of the ladder, and Melbourne and Brisbane are kind of just like wanting to be top of the ladder. And then we can just rest players, like North Melbourne, just rest players for a bit. So bring in the big Murkov, bring in big Willie Hayes. Wouldn't mind that. So I wouldn't mind seeing that. But no, I don't think Murkov really has a chance, especially with Pitman coming back, and especially with us finding a way because TDK is our main ruckman, but we're finding other ways. Like, yes, I hate seeing Mackay and Cripps and Kennedy and Hewitt, like even Corey Durden in the ruck. But I don't like saying it, but I think we just found a way until we get Pitnet back. But we're just finding ways to win, which is not really Carlton like.
It's more finding ways to lose usually.
Yeah.
Yeah, well said, mate. So the forward battle. What's that? Always got 2 goals, I think. Yeah, so that's not bad. 2. We touched on Charlie and Harry, and then 2 goals to Sammy Draper, and I think Harrison Jones got 2. 3, did he? 3.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, he played pretty well for the young fella. What is he, 21, I think? Something like that. So,
Yeah, yeah. I'll just he's no Mackay, but good on him.
oh, bit of age difference. Harry took a while to develop.
Yeah,
Um,
true.
yeah, true. All right, we'll get stuck into our best on ground now, boys. We'll go to you first, Daff.
There was many, and we've named names, and I've got Doc, and I think across the board there was about 10 blokes who could have been like about probably maybe 6, 7 that could have been best on ground. But for mine, in terms of the impact on the game, Lewis Young, and he's become one of my favourites. He's one of those, I don't know, he's something about him which I just like, the way he plays footy, and he's just being that taller defender that can use the ball extremely well. We'll just go through his stats now. 18 touches for a fullback. Fuck me. Like at 100% efficiency. At 100%. I know we love Jonesy. I love Liam Jones. Loved how he played. But when was the game he had 100% efficiency?
I know.
Yeah, I think that was his downfall, wasn't it? Some of his kicking at times could be quite. I love Liam Jones too, being Tassie boy especially, but I think his kicking did let him down at times. But I think aerially he was pretty good.
Yeah, 100% he's good. But Lewis has been fantastic. I think he's had 4 games with 100% efficiency with 15 or more touches. So that's very good. And considering the kicks he's been taking on as well, 7 contested. I think there was probably that period in the third quarter they had about 400 inside 50s Essendon. And they're just rampaging their forward line. I reckon they kicked 1 goal out of all those inside 50s. So credit to him in the back 6, and game high 14 intercepts. That's ridiculous. The numbers are ridiculous. 7 marks, 3 score involvements. As I said, takes the game on with by foot, and 9 1%ers, and kept Peter Wright to 0 goals too. So I'm not sure how the Dogs really let go of him that easy. That's the question. That's the question I'd be asking if I was a Bulldog supporter, because they don't have that key back, do they? They have that Alex Keith, but every time we tend to verse them, they're always a mismatch due to Mackay. They just don't have that height. And Lewis Young, geez, what a get! And shout out to Nick Austin, the list manager, for getting him, because he wasn't heavily talked about last year in the trade period, and we got him for what we traded 54 or something to West to. We got it from West Coast for Samo, and
we traded it. Yeah.
Oh, what a get!
And you did say shout out there to Austin, and literally, definitely, because like some of the decisions made in the off season have been some of the better decisions I've seen at this club in a long time, from top to bottom. New CEO, we can go through everything. How the club's changed off the field, on the field, but things like Hewitt, Chera, Young, as you were saying, like it's crazy. But yeah, Pato, best on ground, mate.
Yeah, I reckon every single week that either Daffy or Sam does their best on ground first, I'm kind of like, maybe I should change my mind to that. But like, yeah, Lewis Young, I reckon arguably just because of what we gave up and what we got in like pick 50, I think it was 51 or 54, I don't know exactly, but it was around that mark. And Lewis Young, mate, and spot on about the Doggies, like they kind of, because of what they have, like a Ryan Gardner or whatever it is, but whoever he is, not whatever he is, whoever he is.
Whatever he is.
So I think that's an interesting one. But I'll get on to my best on ground. I mean, this is a little bit like, I think this is probably pretty standout to me. But I think Sam Docherty, for many reasons, but the one main reason is just where he has become. Like we mention it pretty much every week. Where he has become in this side is just, it's unbelievable how much he has grown as a footballer. Because I reckon even in 2017, I think when he made All-Australian 2017 or 16, he's better now. He is better. He is a better footballer. And I'm telling you, like 33 touches for a half-backer, like we kind of mentioned how we have a lot of half-backers and we have too many players in the same position. When Zach Williams was playing this side, Sam Docherty was still getting 25 plus. So it's not like that, like Zach Williams is the reason why Sam Docherty is playing this well. He's getting 33 touches and it's just unbelievable. Quick shout out is that he's getting 33 touches, but 88% efficiency, still pretty good. So I think shout out to Sam Docherty. And most importantly, to my super coach, I've added him in over the week, and I should have put him as captain, to be honest, but nah, he's done very well. He's done very well.
Just quickly on Doherty. How about that dog Stringer hit on him in the first quarter? Could he be a worse human being? Like really?
Was that the one?
What I kind of right in the guts, like after
Okay,
dog.
yeah.
Dog.
There was
And
one.
then he did it to Marchie later on as well with the
Dog.
hit to the
Yeah.
side. He's a terrible bloke, and he's the most overrated footballer I've ever seen.
Could
he
not
was in the
agree
side-
more.
When he
Could
was in
not
the
agree
side, they're
more.
like, "Oh, Stringer's back. Watch out." What are we watching out for?
He did
Mate,
nothing.
It's horrendous. No, really. Like, I don't know. But we'll move on. Terrible human, terrible bloke, terrible footballer. Full stop.
There was
Quickly-
one where
Sorry,
you go. Just all right. No,
Sorry.
you're right. You go, mate.
No, very quickly.
Honestly,
It's
that-
so good. It's so good that right now, after the game, we can now absolutely shit on all these players. Because I know that me personally, I wouldn't even risk going anywhere near this. But Jake Stringer, most overrated player in the comp. 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right because I don't know the incident. I can't remember the exact one, but there was one right in front of me. Who you know where I sat is, so you can tell me if that was the one. But there was one where we caught him holding the ball. I can't remember who it was, and like facing towards the crowd, but the umpire was blindsided. He sort of pushed his hand down. I don't know if it was because he got caught holding the ball. He put his hand down in their face or whatever. Be a bit of a dog, but yeah, very overrated footballer. And yeah, Sam Doherty played a great game, Pato. I've got Nick Newman for my, I'd say best on ground, but it's more the consistency that he brings. Like he got 29 disposals, I think it's this week. Usually it's always minimum 20. I think he's not talked about because he does his job, which I think is a good thing in a way. Like, yes, he's not a flashy midfielder or something like that, so he doesn't get talked about every week, but he does his job, in my opinion, week in, week out. And yeah, super consistent for mine. And Pato, just for your information as well, I've got it here. Ryan Gardner arrived at the kennel with pick 6 overall from Tasmania. So there you go, mate. That's who he is.
Pick 6. He was
I think it
6'6". There's no way. Is he pick 6?
AFL mid-season rookie
Oh,
draft.
Okay, I was gonna say,
Right.
man.
Should have finished my sentence, shouldn't I?
Wow.
Come
But
on,
again,
man.
What are you?
But
what
he's
are you-
Tasmanian as well, though, so
how are you
take
playing-
it easy.
How are you playing him ahead of Young last year?
Yeah.
Like, I know
No
Young
idea.
probably fits our system better, but like, Jesus Christ, we got him for nothing, man. I mean, he's playing every week.
Yeah.
He's playing every week.
Absolutely. And you know what was good to see? It was good to see a lot of things. It was good to see that we won. It was good to see Caleb Marchbank playing his first game in 50 years and actually playing well. That was the weirdest thing. Like, you wouldn't blame the bloke if he came out there and played not scared or safe or anything, but he just sort of done his job. But he played very well, in my opinion. He gave away a few free kicks or whatever, but who cares? Like, he played very well, and it was also good to see. We give Brian Taylor a bit of shit, but I think he handled it pretty well. Roaming Brian with Corey Durden and his
Corey Durden.
wonderful sister. Yeah, so that was great to see. But I think BT handled the whole moment pretty well, and that was good to see. So shout out to both of them, or all of them. And what else we got? Willow, of course, has stepped away from the club since we filmed last episode, I think it was. And so we wish him well, and hope all is well there. And I think that's about it, boys. Anything else? VFL on today. I'll tell you to get down there, but by the time this goes out, we had already played and won by 15 goals, so it's all good. But
but I just thought I would just very quickly just touch on Marchbank, as you said, Sammy. As you said perfectly. I mentioned it to Daff earlier, and I just think that like it gets me emotional just because so many teams, premiership sides, good sides, but premiership teams all have their feel-good story. Like last year was the Melbourne with Neil Danaher. Plenty more years, like even like Hawthorn with I hate to say, but even like with Brett Ratton and losing his son in that year and actually winning premiership, like something small like that. Like, yes, he was an assistant coach, but he's still within the club, and just so many feel-good stories. And like, what I thought I would have just been happy. Well, not happy, but of course, like I just would have called Sam Doherty a feel-good story, period. But Charlie Curnow's almost leading the Coleman. We never thought we actually thought that he wasn't going to play again for the rest of his career last year. And somehow he's found form. Caleb Marchbank, I thought he was done. I actually thought we were going to delist him last year.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, he's found form to actually work hard to get back into this side. And I think shout out to Michael Voss, because I reckon that he has a massive impact on him, because there's a photo after the game when they were hugging, and it just gave me goosebumps, man. So I just think that I just thought that very quickly I mentioned that just because I'm not saying we're a premiership. I'm not saying we're the premiership, but once again, it just shows how much a good culture at a football club matters so much.
Yeah, beautifully. Jeez, lose my voice. I'm just getting so emotional. Beautifully said, mate. There was great moments. Charlie coming back, as you said, Marchbank, Doherty kicked that goal against Richmond, and then continued his all-Australian form, I think we can all say, throughout the year. So, it's been great to see. And anything else to add, boys?
All good, mate. All done for mate.
Alrighty, beautiful. Be sure to follow, like, subscribe, do it all. Of course, if you can get down, this will be out before Monday, I think, won't it? So get down to the Footy Monday. If hopefully it's out, otherwise go the deed. But donate to the great cause, to the great man. We saw him last night, of course. He's at the Footy, Neil Danaher, so it was good to see. And thanks for watching as always. And Pato, mate, you got the scarf in your hands. Let's go.
And as always, boys, up the baggers.